First tonight, research by WILG has found more than 100 disabled people have had their care packages cut following changes by the Welsh Government. Responsibility for the support was transferred to councils back in April.
Well, we first revealed concerns about the changes in May. At the time, the minister responsible told us there wouldn't be any losers. We shall be hearing from him in just a moment after this report from Paul Martin.
Cecilia Kenny has had severe cerebral palsy since birth and needs help with things most of us take for granted. Here she's showing us the routine she has to go through to get in and out of bed.
We always check which loops we're doing. We confirm with each other because that way it's safer.
Cecilia's lived in her own purpose-built bungalow here in Wrexham for the last 20 years, thanks to her personal assistants like Nicola and her assistant's dog, Winslow.
Decided to be a bit slow.
She's able to employ those assistants and do other things like go on a 2-week course to learn how to get the most out of Winslow, thanks to the care and support package she gets. 68 hours of care a week.
Get the washing. Get the washing.
Cecilia used to benefit from the UK-wide Independent Living Fund. That was scrapped by the UK government. In Wales, it was temporarily replaced by the Welsh Independent Living Grant.
Push the door.
But the Welsh Government then decided to pass the money and the responsibility to councils. Now Wrexham Council has told Cecilia it's cutting her support by more than a third.
I feel as if my lifestyle is being threatened, and I know that seems harsh to say, but I can't even do the basics of life without support.
For Cecilia to live the life she wants, to be able to socialise, follow her interests and work with disability rights groups, it takes lots of planning and support. Her care package has allowed her to do this, and she fears a reduction in her hours will leave her limited in lots of ways.
It's upset initially because it's my life, and that's what people don't see. It's not just making changes in hours, it's my life, it's how I live my life. Without the support that I have, I can't.
Campaigners had feared that moving the responsibility and the funding to cash-strapped councils would threaten care levels and create inconsistencies across the country. In May, we asked the minister in charge if the changes would leave some people worse off.
Are you saying that the 1,300 who currently get it will get it and at exactly the same level as they're getting now?
What I can't say is it'll be precisely exactly the same. Otherwise, you would just replicate it and say, we'll just carry on as you are. But the interesting thing here is...
There will be losers here. There will be people who are getting it now who will lose.
There won't be losers. That's where I disagree with you.
So was he right? Have there been any losers? We decided to ask the 22 councils how the transition is going.
Around 600 people have been reassessed so far, and of those, about 100 have had their care packages cut.
And there are big regional variations. Around 130 people have had their support increased, but nearly half of them are based in Powys.
Most local authorities have cut some packages, but the council here in Wrexham has cut the most. 40 of the 58 people it's reassessed so far have had their care packages reduced.
The Welsh Government Minister responsible for all this, Hugh Davies, said in May that there won't be losers in this process. What do you say to him?
Well, if it carries on like they plan to do, there will be. There'll be major losers, not just myself, but other people in similar situations. I think I will lose out dramatically because I won't have the consistency to carry on my life similar to what I've done for the last 16, 18 years.
We asked Wrexham Council for an interview, but were told no one was available. In a statement, a spokeswoman said it's helped people develop their skills to be more independent, to access community resources and share support when appropriate. But a disability charity told us tonight it wants the whole process reconsidered.
As an organisation of disabled people, our members are telling us about their deep concerns and real anxieties about the cuts that are affecting them around the Welsh Independent Living Grant. As a result of that, we are calling on Welsh Government to do an urgent review into what is actually happening on the ground.
Cecilia is fighting against Wrexham Council's decision on her care package. Others want a bigger rethink across the country.
Well, joining us in the studio tonight is the Minister for Social Care, Hugh Aranka-Davies. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. What's your immediate reaction to that film made by Cecilia?
It's interesting watching that individual case, and I think anybody who's got any concerns over their individual case needs to take them to the local authority, because people have a right, every disabled person has a right to challenge this. They also have a right to have an independent advocate sitting alongside, and that could be, by the way, a family or friend, but it could be a professional advocate as well. But across the whole of Wales, where we've had 600 of these transition across from the old scheme, over this 2 years now into the new scheme, we've had 10 formal challenges, and all of those have been worked through and so on. So actually, is there a major issue out there? Well, I think there will be individual cases, and we were always aware of this, because whenever you have an individual assessment and where there's a transition to a new care package, there will be discussions and there might be disagreements. But it's incumbent upon every local authority then to work through those.
But you said back in May to us there will be no losers, categorically.
Absolutely.
You've got to admit that Cecilia is a loser. She's losing a third of her care.
No, and the reason I say this is because there is a real tangible difference between saying we're actually going to reduce some of your what would have been traditional formal care hours and saying we're supporting you for independent living. You look at the national figures, and I think there's 130 where they've had enhanced packages. Some of the individuals going through this will not have been assessed since 2015, and their needs change, and also the support changes as well.
But the reality for Cecilia is that she loses nearly 20 hours of care a week. That's the reality.
So when I say that there will be no losers, I adamantly mean that, because this is not simply about traditional forms of care. It is about supporting independent living. And independent living also means the ability to follow hobbies, pastimes, to volunteer, as she did, to spend her time within disability rights organisations and so on. Now, that's what every local authority should be doing. But what I will be doing on the back of this as well, we have been carefully monitoring this all the way through. And we've met with the campaigners, by the way, on a couple of occasions as well. We've carefully monitored this. In fact, we've commissioned additional monitoring, but what we will be doing now is going out to Wrexham, but also to other local authorities to say, can we do a bit of a deep dive here? How is this actually happening? What's your experience of individuals?
Well, you do need to go to other authorities, because this from Trevor Palmer from Newport, who said, this is a direct quote, to a committee early this year, my local authority reviewed my support and is now being cut by 60%. Trevor Palmer, another loser.
And I would say again, with every individual case, people have the right, under our Social Services Wellbeing Act, very different from England, they have the right to contest these decisions. And do you know they should if they're unhappy?
But these people, Cecilia and Trevor, on a very human level, forget the politics of this.
Absolutely.
Forget the policies of this. There are people who are suffering on a daily basis.
There's the issue. If there's somebody suffering on a daily basis, I want to hear that evidence, and I will step in.
You just heard it tonight.
And I will step in individually. But the issue is, one is where there are perceptions, and we've picked this up ever since the transition was going on. 2 years ago, the English scheme finished, and we spent 2 years transitioning. And part of that, by the way, was working with a large stakeholder group, including disability rights organisations.
Well, they're not happy tonight.
And the consensus was that we should move to this, and the consensus was that we should move to the system where we don't have two tiers of some having the additional ILG.
When you're talking about systems, let's talk about lives here, because people are being affected, and you have Disability Wales calling for an urgent review. Will you review it?
And it's the first that I've heard of this. 18 months into this process, this is the first that organisation or any others has said they want to have an urgent review. And what I would say to them, quite frankly, because you're right, these are human issues, and there's a worry here that people watching this will be genuinely, well, what's happening? Am I next? And so on. And yet what we know is that of the 600 that have gone through, and bear in mind, 75% of people have either transitioned across or are in the process. Of those 600, there's been 130 enhanced cases, 350 roughly the same.
Okay.
There's been 100 where the hours of care have been cut, and that is a concern. But if a local authority says, for that individual, actually, we've managed to put in different types of support so they can still do their independent living. Now, that's where the deep dive from me comes, to sit down with these local authorities.
Talking about local authorities, a quick word on a colleague of yours in the Cabinet tonight. Alan Davis has said the local government ministers said on the BBC that the councils are acting like Oliver Twist. Please, can I have some more all the time? Is that really helpful at this time?
It's not the phrase that I would have used, certainly, and I've met with my own local authority colleagues, and they're under the cosh there because of the settlements that we get from Westminster. This is tough. But one thing we have done, and it's pertinent to this story, by the way, we haven't only transferred across the £27 million that came with the ILG from the UK government. What we've also done is protected spending on social services and on health. Now, that means, and I'm adamant on this, there shouldn't be losers, because our system in Wales is different from England. It's based not on traditional care, it's also based on everybody should have the right to independent living, quality of life. Okay. So if it isn't happening, I want to know about it. If it isn't happening, I will raise it directly with local authorities.
So if it's not happening for Cecilia, tomorrow morning, would you possibly contact Cecilia and check she's okay?
I will be speaking...
Because you've talked about a human level.
I will be speaking within the next week, the next fortnight, to several local authorities, including Wrexham, and I will be raising individual cases, but also, how is it happening for everybody? Because everybody is an individual case. We need to get this right. The underpinning in Wales is the right underpinning, that everybody is looked at as a person and that it's wrapped around them. If it isn't happening, we will deal with it.
OK, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. Hugh Rankin-Davies. Thank you.
Thank you very much.